PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. Holy Snokes, we're back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to PLD Project. Welcome to another episode of Holy Snokes, where we're breaking down the latest and greatest from Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 7, Dreams and Madness. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, is my own little genocidal murder bot, Matty Gunner. How you doing, my friend?
Genocidal murder bot. That tracks. I'm doing all right, mate. I've been busy.
Indeed, and we can actually talk about that a little bit now if we wanted to. Not like big deal.
Yeah,
You can confirm it at least because it was announced. You've been working on our friend's album there. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I'll just talk about it at the start of the show because that means people are going to hear it right at the start. It means they'll go check it out. Go get a copy of it. I was very fortunate to have been one half of the team. Shout out to my Mourner bandmate and songwriting collaborator, Matt Hart. We did the audio engineering, the mastering, the mixing, and the editing for friend of the show, Jedi Master, guy who I've looked up to as a person and as a podcaster for a long time. Ken Napzok is going to be releasing his brand new comedy album on October 10th. So it's available everywhere now, kennapzok.com. It's going to be out Spotify, iTunes, all the regular places. And there is going to be a special edition with some really cool, bonus features that's going to be available on, I think, Bandcamp.
Yep,
he's putting up there. Bandcamp's a really great platform. I've used it for years. So go check that out. I think on the special edition there is a bonus set from San Diego Comic-Con weekend that he did. There's a bunch of Saturday Night Napzok stuff on there. He's really like putting out a lot of cool stuff on this special. So please go with a lot of hard work. Myself, Matt Hart, Brian Ward's done the artwork for it, and it just looks so cool.
But it does. Ken Napzok, In My Day, it's called. In My Day, live from the Harrison Pub in London. That's the main gig.
It's from the Harrison Pub, so there's that little Star Wars way in. And I was at that show. I was there with shout out to Nicky Kumar, Auden Diaz, Paige from Betty was there as well. A bunch of us were all there celebration weekend. It was a really good time. So getting to see, obviously I didn't get to see the formation of the set, Ken writing his set, working on it. I didn't get to see that side of things, but being there from the actual recording of the show to being asked to work on it to now it's 2 weeks to coming out.
Right.
And all this, I've been working on this while I've been recording for the upcoming Mourner EP. So the creative synapses were just firing in all cylinders. Ken would throw out an idea, I would throw one back, and it was just really cool. And I've texted him this, but I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Ken is someone I have watched on YouTube for a very long time. We both have. You've gotten to work with him with the Schmodown. And just to be asked to work on something so important for someone that I hold in such high regard and have such respect for. Sorry, Ken, I know you listen, not to blow smoke up your butt, but I've done some really cool shit in my life. This is by far and away right at the top of that list.
Absolutely. I'm jealous. I'm almost jealous of you. Ken has also been a stalwart, a friend of mine, and a downright one of the coolest dudes I've ever met in my life. We've pitched some ideas of maybe working together on something. Hasn't come to fruition yet, just basically due to schedules and everything else. But that might happen still in the future. We'll have to see when we both clear up our schedules a little bit. Potentially have some conversations there. I'm excited to go see him again, actually in October, right after the release. Actually, so the release is on the 10th. I believe I'm seeing him on I want to say the 13th, that Friday, whatever that is, with Mark Ellis in New York at the Comedy Club. Jen Sturger is going to be there as well, amongst potentially others. I asked Mark specifically because, like, being friends with Mark, like, Mark, anybody else coming? He's like, we'll see. Yeah. But that's fun. They're always fun nights watching those guys together.
Here is the best way and I guess this is kind of my review of the album as someone who's worked on it. It says something when I've listened to this album. Fuck, I don't know how many times. It still makes me laugh. Like that's how good it is. That I have listened to it so many times to the point where I am like right in the audio waveforms, editing the audio.
Right.
To like, I know the very cellular structure of this album, and it still makes me bust out laughing. Yeah. So
funny guy.
So yeah, KenNapsog.com, October 10th. In my day, go check it out.
And just in case you're wondering, this is not a paid advertisement. We're just
no, it's not.
We love
it's not. I will promote this thing till I'm blue in the face. Not just because I worked on it, but because Ken deserves this. He worked really hard on this, so please go check it out. I think he's tweeted about it, so post about it on your socials. Yeah. If you get it, share it. If you're streaming it, share it. Let him know that you bought it. Show him that support, and yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to come out.
Absolutely, same here. I can't wait for it. Also, I'm probably sure there's probably a bit of Star Wars humor in there. So, just to bring it back to Holy Snokes, I'm sure there's a little bit of Star Wars humor in there at some point. That's my guess. That's just my guess. Knowing Ken as I do.
I'm not gonna. I've learned never to ruin a comedian's bit.
Fair enough. Okay, I was not there. I'm not ruining anything. This is just speculation that the guy who wrote Why We Love Star Wars and usually wears a kind of rebel insignia hat, that he probably included some Star Wars humor in there. Just maybe. Every time I've seen him, he's had it in there. So, all right, let's get on to the show today. Holy Snokes, we definitely have a main topic, of course. Since Ahsoka has been on, that's been our main topic every week, been the breakdown and review of the episode. We try to throw in some news if there's anything news-wise that's worth talking about in the beginning. So, like to have our comments and our thoughts on that. Still not much in the news. Two little pieces of news I will drop. The first smaller one, Cameron Monaghan was at, what did you say, Ocala? I can't pronounce it. I didn't know.
Ocala, Florida. It is the same town as the acclaimed band A Day to Remember and the great Alden Diaz.
Alden Diaz, another friend of the show. It's actually funny. I say that for the show because he knows you.
Those are the two best imports from Ocala, Florida, is Alden Diaz and A Day to Remember.
It's funny because I mentioned like you've hung out with Alden. I never actually got a chance to hang out with Alden. We passed each other 2 ships in the night that we passed in conversation. We know each other. It was finally one point I DM'd him the other day. I'm like, this is silly. We've never actually talked, but I feel like you're like a good friend of mine. He's like, I feel the same way. We gotta get together and hang out and have a beer. But
he likes his wine.
He likes his wine. Yeah, exactly. He'll do the wine. I'll do the beer. I'll probably do the whiskey if anything else. So that's probably what I'll do. But anyway, at the Comic-Con there, Cameron Monaghan confirmed that they are indeed working on the 3rd entry into the Jedi game series that he is a part of Cal Kestis. I know that's big news for a lot of people. I don't play the games, but I do I love seeing the outtakes and people playing it and some of the lore that gets explored there. So I love all sorts of world building, and that's, if nothing, has done a lot of world building. So that's exciting news.
Are you one of these people you don't play the games, you just watch the cutscenes?
I am. Because you know what? The problem is, if I get and start playing a game, I'll be hooked on the game and I'll play it and I have just no time, and I'll put hours and hours into it because I'm not very good at games. So I can't just breeze through them like some people can. I'm stuck falling off ledges 500,000 times. I'm like, you know what? This is frustrating. I'd rather see somebody play it well and see what the storyline is. Okay.
One weekend that I am out there, Alex and Molly Star was explained it, we're going to do a stream where you are going to be playing Jedi Survivor and I will be sitting next to you. So if you get stuck on anything, you start falling off ledges, you just hand the control to me.
That's fair. Maybe that's what we'll do. I did do a good job back in the day of Knights of the Old Republic. I was able to handle that one pretty well. I did like that one, got through it, loved playing that one. But now I'm just an old man yelling at clouds. I'm like, feel like I can't do this. There's too many buttons.
Aren't we all?
All right. The other bit of news is a big news, not necessarily Star Wars related, but obviously affects Star Wars. We did have the ending of the WGA strike. Thank goodness for that. They got their deal. I kind of sped read to the deal. Looks like they've got a lot to get pretty much everything they really asked for.
Looks legit.
The studio finally said, "All right, we need you. We need you guys. We can't make you starve out anymore. So we're going to lose our yachts, and we're going to lose one of our yachts. We're going to lose one of our town, our mansions or whatever." So we gave in, and that's good. Now it's not over, obviously, yet because next is SAG-AFTRA, of course. But I got to feel like, from again not being an expert, I'll throw my own speculation out, but that's maybe worthless. But it feels like a lot of the same issues were at play for SAG-AFTRA, so a lot of the groundwork has already been laid by figuring out the writers' side of things. I got a feeling that the studios want this all done because it's now going to be quarter 4, starting October 1st. So I think they're going to push forward. I think they're going to capitulate again, and I think we'll see the acting side SAG-AFTRA probably end in a couple of weeks. That's my own prediction. Not mean the fight is over. Keep fighting. Don't let that fool you, but that's just my own little prediction and thought.
Especially with animators and VFX artists now unionizing, and we could be right back here again in a couple of months with those guys, and rightfully so. This is a thing at the minute with across all labor of the top of the top are getting paid ridiculous amounts for doing absolute jack shit. I mean, you only got to look over here at the nursing staff and the National Health Service over here. Back in the COVID pandemic, every night at 8 o'clock at night, the government was saying, "Go outside and clap for the NHS. Make sure you go out and you bang your pots and pans really loud for the National Health Service or the nurses and doctors." Now they ask for a fair pay rise. They tell them, "Go fuck yourself."
Well, they fucked around. They found out with the writers. Hopefully that's what's going to happen with everybody else as well. And hopefully sooner rather than later for both them and for us. More importantly for them, so they get their fair deal and they can live an actual life. They can actually have a home to go to and put food in their bellies. And then also lesser, but at least more personally for us, everybody gets to go back to work and then do some things we enjoy doing, all the movies and shows that we always talk about and get to view and love. That's the best part of life. I think we all work, but we all need to get entertained as well. And that's the best side of life, is that kind of thing. So let's get that home. Absolutely. Football is life. That's another part of it. Exactly. So yeah, that's the news of the hour, so to speak. We'll get back to news again soon, a couple of weeks, because frankly, Ahsoka's finale is next week. And after that, we got nothing until Skeleton.
We do have one thing that we will be talking about. I went to watch The Creator last night.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that good, huh?
I didn't. Okay, right now. Okay, if I'm going to give a quick ranking of my movies of the year, John Wick 4, The Creator, Mission Impossible.
Now, that's impressive, because I know how much you were loving on Mission Impossible for it. I know how much you love John Wick.
This movie is
absolutely
so good.
I'm excited. I'm seeing it on Sunday with my brother. I've been excited about it since it first came out. Obviously, I want to definitely go see Rogue 2. I mean, The Creator. I kid. I know it's nothing to do with Rogue One, but I love Gareth. I love Gareth Edwards. His take on Rogue One was one of my favorite Star Wars movies. So seeing him in an all new, fresh IP with his own, without any ties to everything, that's kind of exciting. And I love John David Washington as well. So this is going to be. I feel like this is going to be a good take. I'm excited to hear you say you loved it, because my taste generally aligned with yours overall. So I feel like that I will love this quite as well. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, we can talk about that. We can have our own little other Snokes at times and talk about other things occasionally. Exciting stuff. All right. But let's get into Ahsoka. Another great episode, I think. I can say that spoiler-wise off the bat. It's the penultimate episode, as Mark Ellis would want to say. A lot of stuff happening. I will say there was a little definitely taste of this is setting up the finale. After we had a couple of really banger episodes of getting through, this is kind of okay, we're going to move these pieces into place, but not in a case where it was all just filler or setup. It was definitely moving stuff forward, moving characters forward.
Anyone uses the F word for this episode, I will personally calf kick you.
100%. Absolutely. I saw some people say like nothing happened. I'm like, really? Did you watch the same episode? Everything happened in this episode.
anyone uses that F word, not the F word that I like to throw around, the F word that we don't like on this show.
They can F off.
They can F off, yeah, because you can't complain when we have had banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. Then they dip it a little bit for the setup for something that is ultimately going to be huge.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You can't just have, because then it gets boring. Where's the setup? If you don't have the setup, you don't get the payoff.
You need to have the fastball thrown so you can groove it out of the park, as they would say in baseball. So, absolutely.
Is that a sport?
That is a sport.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I know you don't understand sports ball sometimes. I get it. It's okay.
Unless it's sports where people are punching each other in the head, I don't understand.
Fair enough. I could throw a fastball at your head. You might, that's all right. All right, episode 1, our season 1, episode 7, Dreams and Menace. We like to break this up into segments. We go through the episode bit by bit, and then we come up with the finale rankings and everything like that. So let's get right into it. The first segment we always do on this show is become a little bit of an albatross at this point. I'm not going to lie. I'm still going to do it, though, because I'm faithful to our mascot, faithful to our patron saint, Hondo Ohnaka.
Mascot.
Hondo.
How dare you? How dare you call him the mascot of this show?
What is he? Okay, patron saint. Is that better? Is that
our Lord and Savior?
Our Lord and Savior. Okay. The segment is Hondo Watch 2023. Where basically we ask, did Hondo Ohnaka, our Lord and Savior, make an appearance in this week's episode of Star Wars TV?
Who wants to see Hondo? Talk to me!
The answer, my friend.
This effort is no longer profitable!
We are still waiting. Still waiting.
Where could you... I guess he could have shown up like right at the end and be like, hello, my friends. I have come to take you off of this planet.
I will say, maybe. That's like there's a small, infinitesimal percentage of a chance that maybe that's how they get back. Somehow, Thrawn gets back to the galaxy, they're stranded, and sure enough,
Hondo's just passing through.
Hey, my friends. Let's go.
Did you see? I was browsing through TikTok the other day, and I saw a video of Jim Cummings at I'm not sure which convention it was, but it had Ashley Eckstein and a few others on stage, and he was kind of like off the stage in the shadows, just kind of watching as a spectator, but on the side. And as they were talking, they gave him a live microphone, and they were like, "Talk as Hondo, like." Right now, and Jim Cummings just rips into this full Hondo dialogue of like, hello, my friends. I am sorry that I could not be there for this panel, even though he's standing like right at the side of the stage. And I was just like, damn, he can just turn it on.
I have to find that. Even stretch it out. I'd love watching that because that's my jam right there. Anytime. I mean, we've been waiting. He's been teasing the live action appearance for another year now, or at least he was pushing for it. At least. Yeah, gotta do it. But
it's the fact there was no like clearing of the throat. There was no like, all right, let me take a second to get into the cat. He just went straight in as Hondo, and I was just like, what the?
It was Dragon Con in October 22. I gotta read these quotes just to give us a little bit of insurance, a little bit of faith. He was asked about seeing Hondo in the future. He said, probably yes and yes. They haven't talked to me about it. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I'm there. I ain't going nowhere. As for what character he'd want to interact with most as his smuggling character, Cummings responded in his Hondo Ohnaka voice, it definitely would be Ahsoka. The poor kid misses me. I can't deny her of me. I want to see that happen. I want to see it happen so bad. Eventually it's going to happen. But either way, all right, that's what it is. We got that out of the way now. We have to get that out of the way every week. It's going to be a joyous occasion when it actually happens. We're going to have like cake and streamers and whiskey and beer. It's going to be a big celebration when it does happen, but not this week, unfortunately. Our next segment we dive into here.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Once a rebel, always a rebel. This is where we do the brief breakdown of what happened in the episode generally, so we know what we're talking about when we go on to our other segments. A lot of stuff did happen this week. Some big, some momentous, and some heartwarming. We'll start right away. The episode started off not in Peridia, not with Ahsoka arriving, but back in the Republic on Coruscant. I believe it was Coruscant still. I don't know if they've moved to Hosnian Prime yet or not. It was Coruscant. I don't. We don't know when the capital goes to Hosnian Prime, and sometime between episode 6 and episode 7, but at least as of 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, we are in Coruscant still. Hera basically undergoing a hearing with Mon Mothma and, oh my God, Ziono, the guy I wanted to punch like 18 times throughout this entire thing.
I fucking hate that guy.
I do too.
I hate that. Like, I was watching it this morning and I immediately went to the Thank the Maker Discord and I was just like, am I the only person that like hates this guy more than Perrin? Like, I didn't think I would hate anyone more than Perrin. I hate this guy.
Well, that's because he is worse than Perrin, because Perrin is more of like you don't like him because he's a dick, but he's not like actively working against Mon Mothma and our heroes. He's just kind of like an enemy because he's a dick and he's like forgetful, or he's not a good guy.
He's stupid.
He's stupid and he's greedy. This guy is actively working against the best interests of the Republic at this point.
He's a shit weasel.
He is absolutely a shit weasel. And it's sad to say, because like while I haven't finished all of Resistance, I'm going through another watch. I'm going to go through the entire Resistance when I get to it. Kaz, his son, seems like such a good-hearted guy. I don't know how he came from this stock. To be honest with you, this guy, he's awful.
It's the fact that this piece of shit survived the Star Killer Base attack that I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, of all the people that survived,
did he
survive? Yeah, he survived.
Are you sure about that? I thought
he wasn't on Hosnian Prime when it blew.
That means we can actually still see him in the future. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Well,
not if our little murderous genocidal war hero has anything to say about it.
That's fair, I guess. That's fair. God. That's right. That's from Resistance. That's true. He made. That kills me. That kills me. Well, I mean, at least that's somebody to take out later on, I guess. But it was good to see Admiral Akbar on there, even though he didn't have a line. It was good to see him on the council. That makes a lot of sense. And we're going with the Mon Mothma bit again, which I love, because Mon Mothma still has that like kind of Rogue One thing going on, where like she smirks when like Hera stands up for herself. And she's like on our side, as she's got a good heart and she's trying. We had this conversation before where we know that she is not wanting to take advantage of her chancellorhood, so she's kind of erring so far in the direction of not doing anything that's actually a problem. But it's kind of interesting to see the character struggle. It's interesting to me because mainly, like, I hate bringing up Legends versus canon because that ends up bringing the wrong people out of the crowd. But it is an interesting conversation to have. I read all Legends, and Legends Mon Mothma was a very strong character in terms of she became Chancellor after the fall of the Empire, and she was a strong, benevolent leader, but she was very strong throughout, and that's why technically when it ended, she had passed, but the Republic was still pretty strong overall. Whereas in the canon now, it's a much different side of things, and it's kind of interesting to kind of reconcile those two in my mind. I do think it's an interesting take. Where are you sit on this as far as Mon Mothma goes?
I'm kind of on the side of it's a shame. Like the analogy I kind of use, and like be it accurate or not, is kind of like a Rottweiler with its balls cut off. Like it's got the bark, but it's just like you still a little dog. Like the bark's there, the loud bark's there, but like you've lost the bite. Like
it's a little Valoramish.
Little bit.
When it comes to it, she talks a good game and she wants to do the right thing, but she's kind of hamstrung now by the bureaucracy. The same bureaucracy that ended up killing the Republic, it's being reinstalled now in a way, and it's the worst part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and when he was like, when Senator Dickwad was like, oh, it's fantasy, space whales, Jedi. It's like, dude, you're not that old. Like,
right.
You were probably alive during the Galactic Civil War, so don't pretend that you don't know what Jedi are. Right. You were there during the rebellion, so don't pretend you don't know who Luke Skywalker is.
He's I mean, he's a good politician, absolutely. He's turning things on his side. Every time she said something, he'd try to counter it with something, he'd try to push it down. But it is very, very harsh until we get a very, very heartwarming moment. We hear the music a little bit, we hear the voice trills, we hear the gears, and everybody kind of turns. There he is, Anthony Daniels as C3PO, making a.
You know that was him in the suit.
Was it actually him in the suit still?
It wasn't Chris. It wasn't Chris Bartlett. It was Anthony Daniels in the suit.
That's awesome. I wasn't sure if it was just the voice. I didn't know. Somebody asked me. I didn't get a chance to look
someone in the Thank the Maker Discord put a screenshot of a DM because they evidently talked to Chris Bartlett, and it was like, oh, you were great. This was awesome. And he was like, no, that wasn't me. That was Anthony Daniels in the suit. And I was like, geez,
wow,
fair play.
Can do it. He still can do it. And he does it great. It's like he never left. And that's the one good thing about 3PO is being a droid and everything else. You know, we don't have to worry about de-aging 3PO or anything like that. It's all the same thing. Even if his voice sounded great too. I mean, his voice could get older as it goes on still, but he still sounds just like 3PO always did. I love that Mon Mothma gives him the ultimate respect, just stands up and says, yeah, no, come on in. And let's talk about this. I got to say, this is that case of, it was a heartwarming moment. It was good to see him. We know why we're seeing him, though, unfortunately. So it gives that bittersweet moment that, like, you know, Carrie Fisher has passed on. And if Carrie Fisher was alive, we probably would have seen a DH Carrie Fisher in this role. Being Princess Leia would have shown up at this thing, which would have been heartwarming and awesome to see Princess Leia, or General Leia, or Senator Leia at this point, Senator Leia again at this time frame, because we got to see young Luke in Mandalorian. It would be amazing, and there'd be tears, like when everybody cried when Luke showed up in Mandalorian. I think the same thing would happen. Seeing Leia would have been an awesome moment. They could have thrown in a Billy Lord, DH Billy Lord, but they chose to do it with 3PO, and I think it was a respectful thing to do. I think it's the way to go. So as much as I love 3PO, here's the analogy I'm going to make, and this might be a niche analysis. So come with me, try to stay with me here. I'm going to now bring up my favorite band of all time, Queen. I do my Crown Jewels podcast all the time. This, to me, is like Mother Love. Now, Mother Love is a song from the Made in Heaven album, 1995. Freddie Mercury, lead singer Queen, if you don't know, he got sick from AIDS, and for the last 3 albums of his career was singing and recording. That's why they didn't tour and everything else. He was getting worse and worse. He just wanted to sing more and sing more, and it kind of kept him going. The Innuendo album, 1991, came out. He had after that had come out, he went right back to the studio, recorded some things up until May of 1991. Innuendo came out in like January of 1991. He was in the studio until May of 1991 and passed away in November of 1991. So after Freddie passed, the band dealt with it and everything else. They had one final album that they released. It was they did some old solo stuff. They kind of put some stuff together, but they had like 4 or 5 tracks that they wanted to release. That was like Freddie's last recordings that he wanted them out there. He said, I want to sing as much as I can. And when I'm dead and gone, you can do what you want with them and release them. Just get them out there. I just want them out there. So the band had finished. Brian, Roger, and John finished these tracks that Freddie had left behind and released it on Made in Heaven. One of the songs was Mother Love, a song written by Freddie and Brian together. And it was Freddie's last voice recording. Last vocal recording was on this song. It was his last vocal recording.
I thought that was The Show Must Go On.
No, that's on the Innuendo album. That's like the second. After that, he recorded a few things. He recorded a few tracks like here and there. But this is the song, was a very powerful love ballad of love. It was very heartbreaking, very much dealing with Freddie and his time, wanting to like not having much time left, wanting to go back home, wanting to be protected, that kind of thing. And he sang like 3/4 of it in May of 1991. He got sick at that point during that day in the studio, or he wasn't feeling good. He said, Brian, I'm not feeling very well at this point. I'm going to go home and I'll come back and I'll finish another day. It was his last day in the studio. He never finished it. And so when you listen to the song now, it plays through. The last verse is sung by Brian May instead of Freddie Mercury. Now, that's not entirely like out of the ordinary, because Roger and Brian have done lead vocals over the years with Queen. They've done a bunch of things, notes, and they've done duets. Brian sings on Who Wants to Live Forever for a little piece of it, and everything else is something ding. But at this point, the first verse and there's a little bridge section where he sings a little bit of it as well. But you know that when you're listening to this album, under the circumstances, when you're listening to this song, you know that that part wasn't a choice. Because Brian had to do it because Freddie Mercury was no longer around. this is kind of what I felt like this. This was C-3PO was being there, and it was lovely to see him there, and it was a heartwarming moment. It's like, oh, it's good to see C-3PO. It was good to hear Brian May singing on that singing like and during that song, but you can't help but be like a little like nudge that there's a reason why we're seeing 3PO there. You know what I mean?
I also think that now wouldn't be the time to do it. We got Luke in the finale of a show that was being watched by millions and millions. Now, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, a lot more people were watching Ahsoka. But I think and we've spoken about this before, it's different with Carrie as it is to Mark Hamill because Mark's here. I think the time to do it would be in the movie. Don't do it in the setup for a finale of a TV show. That to me is a little like not disrespectful, but like a waste.
A, you don't want to waste the bullets, and B, you don't want like again, and you're right because Mark Hamill's like Carrie's not here. Mark Hamill being here to approve of it and be around for it and work with it, that's one thing. Carrie not being around for it, that adds that layer of I don't know. So why bring up that if you don't have to bring up that argument? Because there's definitely an argument between fans. You see, there's some fans who want to recast, there's some fans who want to use the de-aging, whatever. Story-wise, it doesn't make sense that we don't see Leia in this time period because Leia is a big part of this government and should be a big part of this government. So this was a nice, heartwarming way to do like a workaround, even if it is obvious that they're doing a workaround, if that makes sense. It's kind of like it's a bittersweet thing, but still at the end of the day, it was a nice, classy way to handle it.
I also kind of like it because it's kind of like this isn't worth Leia's time. Like she said she didn't send R2. Like she could have sent R2 with a holo of her talking. No, she sent 3PO because she's just like, I don't care about this bureaucracy shit. Like
well, it's already obvious that as the defense council leader, she's already seeing what Hera is seeing, that the Republic is losing ground as far as military things go, and she's scared of what's coming. So this is the formation of the resistance right before our eyes. So she knows she could actually almost even get in trouble in a way. She's already started to be a little bit seditious to a degree.
Have you ever watched the show Suits?
I never have. I've heard good things about it, but
okay.
I have not.
It's an amazing show. I love it. Gabriel Macht, who plays the lead character, Harvey Specter, is like this suave, debonair, hotshot lawyer, super good-looking dude, was meant to be Batman before Ben Affleck got the role.
Okay.
But he chose not to do it because he wanted to finish Suits. Ballsy move, but paid off because he's great. He has this move that he does when he's like he's known as the best closer in New York, the best closer in the city, like obviously,
right.
And he has this move where he will have a blank piece of paper, and he'll just have it in an envelope. He won't show it to anyone, but he'll be like, "Oh, our guy signed this deal. He signed this affidavit. He signed this whatever. I've got it in my hand." And he'll use it, and it's like a complete blank piece of paper, or it's like a receipt from like him going out to dinner a couple of nights before.
Right.
And he'll use it as like a play to get someone to like back down.
Right.
I'm wondering if like that the data card was just blank.
Right.
And 3PO was just holding it to be like, look, I've got this record. Like she probably didn't tell him because 3PO can't keep his mouth shut.
Right.
You'd be like, all right, I've got this data card. Really, there's probably nothing on it. It was just the fact that 3PO was like, oh, I have this data card from Senator Organa saying that she approved the mission.
Right.
I wonder if that was just like a blank data card. I would love it if that was the case.
That would be funny. I think it does. I think kind of like the way Mon Mothma talked to her afterwards, that like because Hera says, "Oh, she eventually agreed." I think that she did agree, like retroactively, kind of thing is probably what happened, and she kind of like made a data card up. But I liked Mon Mothma talking to Hera afterwards. Obviously, Mon Mothma sees this bullshit. She's too smart to see through it. She knows, like, I know Leia didn't do this, so watch what you're doing. But it seems like what's cool about it is, unlike Valorum, Mon Mothma does know what's happening and does understand the gravity of the situation. So it feels like she's going to do her best to work around the council. Like it's like she won't overtly do it because she's afraid she doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to be a Palpatine again. That's my own speculation. I kind of feel like she's
got a backbone. It's just hunched a bit,
right? Because she doesn't want to be seen as doing the same things that I can't do what I just kicked Palpatine out of office for doing. I can't like. I mean, we kicked Palpatine out of office because he was taking too much control as a chancellor. I can't just then go ahead and take too much control as a chancellor. That's like makes me a whatever the word. I'm blanking. I'm an old man now.
Hypocrite.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Hypocrite. It makes me a hypocrite if I do that. So I can't do that overtly, but I do know what you have is right, and I'm going to try to help you as best I can. It's an interesting take on the character. Actually, I'm fascinated to see where that goes. I hope we get more with Mothma, not necessarily in Ahsoka, just and I want to see more of this downfall of the Republic slowly but surely.
My last point on this scene was Brian Ward is an absolute genius.
Mm-hmm.
I logged on to Twitter this morning, and the very first thing I saw was Brian Ward Photoshop of Chopper in. Have you seen The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan doc?
Yes.
It's the moment where he's like, and I took that personally, but it's Chopper in place of Michael Jordan. And I was just kind of like, what the hell? Whatever. Okay, I'm logging off of Twitter because I've looked at the news. I've looked at all that. I don't want to see any spoilers.
Right.
This moment was glorious because Chopper's taken kind of a backseat for a few episodes.
Yeah.
And it's when, and I actually don't know if Ziona actually knows what an objection means. I think he's just like one of these shitty lawyers that just throws out objection just to, right. We see it all the time, right? It's the public defender that doesn't actually know what objection means.
Right.
So he just objects to everything, hoping that it lands. And he's just like, we can't accept this evidence. And it was like, this scene was also kind of like a courtroom drama. It's like you have the evidence that gets submitted that wasn't submitted beforehand.
Right.
And he's just kind of, we can't accept this from a mere droid. And Chopper's like, what? I'll kill you. Hold me back.
It was great. It was wonderful. I love Carson Teva too.
Carson Teva in street clothes too. Okay. Like, out of uniform. I was just like, I love it when he's now like a part of Star Wars.
He is low key. Like he's not like, when I first saw him, I know he was in the Kim's Convenience Store and everything else. Or I believe like he was gonna be that kind of like one and done kind of guy, or maybe two and done kind of guy. But he's really kind of like made a presence in the Mandoverse section of Star Wars in a way. He's
really, not a glub shitter anymore. Now he's like a legit character. I'm not saying he wasn't a legit character before, but like now he's just like you're like, when's he gonna show up? Is he gonna be the new Hondo?
Right? Yeah, he is. He's almost. In a way, he's kind of almost like that kind of character for me in terms of like, so when I know when he shows up, something is going to be humorous, or at least not necessarily humorous in the way that Hondo is, but it's going to be a case I perk up and go, oh, what's he going to say? He's always got some funny comments or some funny moment, but he's also got a great heart. And he always is like working for, he's the audience in a way. He's the guy who's like, you idiots, we see what's going on. Why don't you see what's going on kind of thing. That's his character, just like the audience is. And he always pulls it off well. He's like, got one of my favorite lines. The whole Ahsoka series is one of those moments when like Hugh Yang told him about Kanan being a Jedi. Jason was a Jedi, and he's kind of like, okay. I love his delivery. His deliveries are spot on.
Dave Filoni absolutely dropped an F-bomb in that moment.
100%.
I've gotten, my ears have gotten quite attuned to speaking Chopper now because of the impression that I can do. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's my final.
That's fair enough.
Chopper's the man.
All right, let's jump forward past the opening Ahsoka credits there, and we get to see Ahsoka training, and lo and behold, I actually want to bet with Christian Harloff. We do get to see Anakin again. It was a technical sense, but we got to see Anakin.
How much you win?
I get one a beer. We didn't really ask that any terms, but yeah, I asked him specifically, do you think Anakin's going to show up again? He said, nope. I say bullshit he's going to. And sure enough, he goes, so I texted him, like, so I win. Like, tactically, like, hey, a win's a win, bitch. But it is what it is.
Win for a beer.
That's probably beer. Like, what do you like? Oh, just throw me.
I started having a little bit more faith, dude.
That's fine. It's fine. We do get to see Anakin again, though, which was nice. Even in any way, shape, or form, we get to see Hayden and Anakin is wonderful. And the way we see it here, it makes sense as part of the story. Obviously, we know from Rebels that there are recordings of Anakin and holocrons and stuff.
I thought it was a Force Ghost for a second.
Did you?
Like when I first saw him come on, I didn't see the light at the top, so I thought it was a Force Ghost. I was like,
"Oh shit!"
I was like, "Oh, wait!" I was like the Punisher meme. I was like, "Wait!" Hold
on, I don't crack. But no, it was great seeing it because I just definitely call back to that and call back to things. It's also just lovely hearing that it's what Ahsoka needed too. She's going back to her roots, and that's what she did after the War Between Worlds. She kind of knew she had to go back to where she was, and still learning from Anakin. And they had some great moments where like Hu Yang was surprised about it. It's like, oh, interesting. I never really considered that. But it's also what Ahsoka needed to hear. Ahsoka needed to hear Anakin saying, "I know you can do this. Where you're good, you can do this."
It's also her moving past the Darth Vader of it all.
Yeah,
that she's remembering the good parts of Anakin, and it's instilling in her that she's like, yeah, he taught me well too. Like he was a great master, and he taught me well.
And it's also about her, I think, as well. He's a good master. I can learn from that. I can be a good master too, kind of thing. We followed up with some great moments in the cockpit between her and Yang, like a very old school Ahsoka kind of thing. She's really kind of, like I said before, she's kind of got that life to her a little bit. She's kind of got that spark that maybe she had been missing a little bit in the first couple episodes because she was so downtrodden at one point. Now she feels like she's got that spark again. The banter with Yang is always top notch. I love it. And then we get to Peridia. We get to Peridia at that point, and sure enough, well, first, I'm sorry, we should go back. Thrawn has aware of the situation. He's set up a minefield around Peridia, an Imperial minefield. When the Purrgil exit hyperspace, there's a lot of explosions happening.
He also didn't know that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan,
which is, I think that's a continuity gap, and it's okay. Not a big deal.
He mentioned it in passing. Like, that dude's brain is full of a lot of things. Yeah. He probably just forgot.
It was that one little line in a book. It is what it is. Not the end of the world. Some people like to make a big deal out of things. I haven't seen too many big deal things about that, so I'm okay. Luckily, people have seemed to be okay about it. I didn't mind it. It's fine. Because it wouldn't make sense to be honest with you, like having him know for a general audience. I mean, I don't think a lot of Star Wars fans knew that because a lot of Star Wars fans who read all the books and everything else. So a general audience, you're like, well, how the hell did he know that? What's going on here? I don't get it. So one line like that, where he's kind of, it's important that he know that made it solidified his ideas of I have to deal with that. I have to deal with Ahsoka because she's Anakin's apprentice. It does let loose that he knew who Anakin was, obviously. So that is still the more important part of things, to be completely honest, because he never interacted with Ahsoka. He interacted with Anakin. That was the important part.
Yeah, it speaks to how tactical Thrawn is, because as soon as he found that out, he was like, pull the fighters back. If she's Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, pull the fighters back, because they're not gonna get close to her.
What we need to do instead of taking her, we need to kind of herd her in a place where we want her to be, which is as far away from us as possible. Have her go towards Sabine. It's okay if she goes to Sabine. We don't want her near us right now. I will say the space battle kind of reminded me of Obi-Wan and Jango Fett a little bit. I almost expected to see Ahsoka dropping a seismic charge back there once in a while, going through the debris field like that. Kind of felt like that. Got a feel to it.
Hu Yang dropping a seismic charge.
Obviously, great. After an actual seismic charge instead of the seismic charge he usually does vocally. But
I will say I did get a little upset about with the Purrgils running into the mines.
Yeah.
That bit I was kind of like,
yeah.
I don't want to see Purrgil start dying.
No, me either. That was sad. It was very sad.
I was just like, it was kind of like a Free Willy moment. I was just like, oh man.
Luckily, I think they were getting out of there. I think they mostly got out of there like a little damaged, but they.
I was looking. I was at the screen. I was like, "Are there any bodies? Any bodies?" Right. No. I think they all got out okay.
Thank goodness. Damn you, Thrawn. Damn you. Speaking of Thrawn, that's where we go next. While Ahsoka's trying to invade everybody, Thrawn goes down. We get to see on the map. He's figuring everything out as usual. Thrawn being Thrawn, man, just dropping everything. Where he drops because he knows Anakin Skywalker. He tells Enoch what to do. And of course, he has the second in Morgan, who is our audience. Like, Morgan, this is very Thrawn-like. He has to have somebody near him going, what are you doing? I don't get this. What the hell are you doing? And Thrawn can go, patience. I got this. Let me cook a little bit. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
But it's good. And it pushes her towards where they want her to go. While Ahsoka hides out, like the Millennium Falcon hides out in the debris field while she tries to figure out what's going on. Before we jump back down to Peridia, where we see the nomads of the Noki nomads driving around the big things. Noti, sorry, I think Noki.
Little Naughty.
Little Naughty. That's right, Little Naughty. Thank you for the correction.
My new favorite rapper.
My favorite rapper. And we got some good repartee between Ezra and Sabine. And I want to say it out loud now. We said it before we started recording. Damn, Esmond is just killing it in this role. He is killing it in this role. He felt just like Ezra come to life right off the bat. I mean, I know there was some argument about how different the people can be from the animation to the live action and everything else. But Ezra, I don't think you can make any argument that he is anything but Ezra Bridger. A little more mature Ezra Bridger, but still very much Ezra Bridger.
I saw that. I saw quite a few people like, oh, he doesn't really look a whole lot like Ezra. I was like, look at a picture of Eman next to a picture of Ezra's dad. Like the hollow of Ezra's dad. It's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's what Ezra's going to age into looking somewhat more like his dad. So, but just the cadence, the mannerisms, the little, like the going back to like the episode where we first saw him, where it was just like, plan worked. It did work, right?
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting because he tries to talk to Sabine a couple of times, Sabine obviously very hesitant to discuss what happened because she knows that Ezra probably would not approve of what the action she took. But Ezra didn't push, which I found interesting. I think that's like the mark of the maturity. He's like, okay, she obviously doesn't want to discuss this yet. I pushing her is not going to do anything good. Let's let her come to this on her own terms, and we can go from there. It did show that sign of maturity, which I appreciate in a way. Ezra's really kind of grown into the Jedi Master. He really is like this. He is the Obi-Wan now. He is the Kanan Jarrus now to a degree. Whereas when we left him, he was just kind of just getting to that Kanan level at the end. Like the last part of Rebels is when he obviously took that step of like taking Thrawn out. That was where he made his big like step into a Jedi Knighthood, a Jedi Master. But like now, a couple of years later, obviously he hasn't had much to do except for studying the Force and build up his Force level. He kind of feels like he is in touch with himself and the Force.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of become, I don't want to say a pacifist,
right?
Because like he still engages in violence, but like we see him, he doesn't take up the lightsaber. He's like, no, the Force is my ally, and it's like a lot of this, other than when he picks up the blaster towards the end, it's like he's just throwing these stormtroopers around. It's not going to kill them, but you know, it'll mess them up.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, and this is a bit of a martial artsy nerd, like the kind of the movements that he was doing were very much like wushu Tai Chi, which is more about centering yourself than acting out of aggression, using your environment and being at one with nature and at one with yourself and letting your body through both of them. And it was kind of like, that's who he is now. He's like he's one with the Force without being one with the Force. Like he's just like, look, the Force is going to come to me. I'm good. I don't need a weapon. I don't need a lightsaber. Obviously, he did end up using the blaster, but he's just like, I'm confident in in myself and my connection with the Force that I'm good. I don't need that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, jump forward to Thrawn. Thrawn bringing in the Night Sisters, the Great Mothers, the witches, as it were, to locate where exactly Ahsoka is hiding in the debris field so that they can flush her out, and they do a good job. But then we got Ahsoka Huyang can't track her, can't find her, so she decides to use the old Luke and Empire Strikes Back method of calling out to her apprentice and seeing if that would work. And not that Leia was Luke's apprentice, but you know what I mean. It's interesting that she would do that, and Huyang's like, you're bond that strong. This is the first time we really do get to see Sabine's Force ability. I mean, you could say it's more Ahsoka because she's projecting, but Sabine does pick up on it, can hear it, and can sense Ahsoka calling her. It's a good moment. It's a good, solid Star Wars moment, even as Ezra's like, what are you doing? What's going on? What's going on over there? But then it's like when Ahsoka does make that connection, she has that kind of warmth about her. She sees it and she like knows that they're going to be together soon again, which is what Hu Yang wanted, which is what everybody wants. Everyone wants the team, the crew to get back together. I love it.
Yeah. The force flows through all living things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like it? Tough shit.
All right, so Ahsoka gets flushed out of hiding. She starts heading towards where the troopers are, or where the crew is, and that's when our crew runs into Balin and Shin on a hill, and now we have this very interesting conversation between Balin and Shin. Balin and Shin are just standing there, like on the hill, sentries watching them come, not really doing much, and Balin basically abandoned ship, which is not something I expected to happen, at least not quite like this. I kind of felt like I thought he was going to go finish the job and then do what he was supposed to do. But he just basically says, you know what? You can take care of this. This is not my destiny. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. You want to be a part of this empire. I know you do. I understand that. I'm not going to stop you. To join this empire, go take care of business like I know you can. But then at the end of the day, I got to let it, you have to do what you do, and I'm going to have to do what I do.
Yeah, it's very much of we still don't know his intention.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like he knows that Shin's ambition is for power, is to become part of the empire, to be a figure of power within the empire.
Right.
But I also thought that's what he wanted.
But obviously not. He could care less about that kind of power.
And I see a lot
working towards that. We've been working towards that. Last episode, he had that comment about how it's all like the cycle and like that's all whatever. But this is the first time he's kind of like, no, I'm meant for something more.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if a lot of people are throwing around Abeloth as the possibility. I'm all for that, but I'm also kind of like, I wonder if we'll ever find out, because it's clear that Shin's story is going to go beyond this show.
Right.
His story is going to go beyond this show.
Right. Well, you know what? That's an interesting thing you say, because the way it's set up now, obviously, when they're writing and filming this episode, they didn't know they weren't going to have Ray Stevenson after this, obviously. It does feel like, I mean, I can't wait to see the episode 8 where we see where it goes. We're set up. Balin is leaving things behind, and he's going off to find this thing that he has been searching for, the thing that's been calling him. Now, I'm betting that Dave had in his mind, okay, we can do the rest of Balin's story in a further season, a season 2 kind of thing. At the same time, now that like things are different and Ray Stevenson is no longer around, if they decide they don't want to do a recast, they technically could leave it that Balin goes off and we just don't hear anything again for a while. Or maybe they continue an animated sense or something potentially. I don't know, maybe something down the line. I feel like that's an alteration that they would consider. It would be a little bit like the bittersweetness of Leia of seeing C-3PO this episode, though. To be like kind of like we know that there was something supposed to happen that we're never going to get now. I don't know if that's the most respectful thing or not. I don't know which one I'd want to say.
I think if they're going to go recasting, I'm now with you on the Liev Schreiber train. If anyone listening hasn't seen it, go watch A Small Light. It's the story of Anne Frank in World War II. And he plays Otto Frank, her father. It is so heavy. It's deep and dark. And I didn't know he had that in him until this was just a few days ago. That I was just flicking through things to watch, and I saw it, and I was just like, oh, I'll check it, because we talked about him being recast, potentially being, I don't want to say the replacement, but like the person to succeed Ray Stevenson. And then, so I was like, okay, let me watch it, because all I've ever known him is Sabretooth.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let me check this out. Boy, he could do it. I was very, very shocked.
He has grown quite a bit. I mean, he started off in Scream, and it was kind of like a horror comedy kind of thing. But even beyond that, he's made his way. I know I never watched the show, but I've seen clips from Ray Donovan, the show he does. And that's another one where he is very dark and gruff kind of thing in a way. A very movie, and he's done mentioning.
Well, this is like emotionally heavy. That I was just like, I didn't know he had these kind of acting chops.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I'm not gonna lie, it would be wonderful. Other people have thrown out Jerry Butler, Jerry B, which would be an interesting take as well, depending on how he does it.
I threw out George Clooney.
George Clooney's the one that would be another possibility. A couple possibilities I've heard that would be kind of cool, but I still lean towards Liev. But again, like I said, he could technically decide to, like, you know what, we'll leave it as it is, and maybe Balin crashes on his way back to the it's like the Simpson thing, you know, it's just got to crash on the way back to their home planet, whatever it was.
They're not going to Gina Carano him.
Well, it wouldn't be like done in the same way, shape, or form, where it's kind of like we don't want to do this stuff without him. Potentially, maybe they get to a book or a comic or an animated show or something potentially down the line. If it wasn't big in Dave's plans overall.
I would kind of like his like last shot to be just him walking over a hill somewhere. We have no idea where he goes. We have no idea what he's going for, what he's looking for, and he just becomes like a myth of his own. And he's just like, the last shot is him just walking over a hill, cut to black. We never see him again.
It would be kind of cool. There's something to be said about that, to be honestly speaking. There's also just something he said, kind of like how he was kind of like the dark Obi-Wan Kenobi this episode. Kind of like it was a mirror of Obi-Wan's dialogue with Luke. You know, your past lies a different path than mine, or whatever. Your road is another path than mine. Which is pretty much what Obi-Wan said to Luke on his way to take out the Death Star, take out the tractor beam, I should say. So it's very interesting to see he was kind of a dark Obi-Wan, and maybe that's more about it. I actually thought it's a really, really weird theory that you're going to find out that Balin Skull was like the long-lost brother of Obi-Wan Kenobi that he mentioned in Kenobi. He's Obi-2. I don't like that theory. I think that bunk that one, but it was kind of a cool thought. It was a cool thought, though, looking at that, seeing as he goes.
You know, that's his brother's. That's Ewan McGregor's brother's call sign in the Air Force.
Is it really? I didn't know that, actually.
His brother's a pilot in the Royal Air Force. That is his call sign is Obi-2.
That's funny. That is funny. All right. Well, after this little speech, they say Thrawn sends the troops in, and Balin sends Shinnin at this point, and they go and they attack Ezra and Sabine and the little naughties who are driving around their little pods. Great action sequence here, kind of fun as they get back into your. I love watching Ezra kind of calling the shots to the naughties, you know, round up. They try to slingshot that, you know, Ezra must have made for him.
I don't know why. I kind of got a Mad Max kind of a Fury Road kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I'll go with that. It's pretty.
Just waiting for one of the nerdy to start yelling, "Witness me!"
Nice. We get to see Ahsoka flying down low. She figures out where they are, and she bails ship of Huyang, who has the unfortunate line later on. We'll get to that. But of course, he's like, "Well, what are you doing?" Like, "All right, fine, do the thing." And Ahsoka leaves, does her little jump off the ship, and jumps basically right to where Balin is. And Balin is still standing there. And this is weird is not the right word, but I was kind of like, okay, so you send Shin off saying this is not your journey, you have stuff to do. But then he's like, I can't let you interfere to Ahsoka. Like, is that like, I don't know, maybe he thought Shin could do it all, but he needs to leave, but he knows that Ahsoka being there would tip the balance in their favor. I don't know.
Well, he was surprised that she was there.
Yeah.
So I think he was just like, oh, I wasn't expecting you. And he knows that Ahsoka is more powerful than Shin.
Right.
He doesn't know that he's more powerful. That he knows that he's more powerful than Ahsoka or on the same level as Ahsoka. So he was like, look, I'm going to hold you off, probably even kill you again.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you're not getting anywhere near my apprentice. Because I think he still cares about Shin. He's just like, look, unfortunately, what I want and what you want are two different things right now.
Right. Absolutely. I do say I love when Ray Stevenson does a lightsaber fight because it's very vicious. I said that before during the fight. It's just you feel the power of his striking. Every time he strikes light, you're like, wow, that's I feel like
he swings really heavy and just like
boom,
puts every motion into, and to the point where he's now like grunting and screaming. Where before the first fight, that's like he was just like kind of flying, but now he's like, I was like,
ooh, oh boy.
All right, big man, jeez,
you're a very scary individual, big man. It's very interesting. I mean, obviously, Ahsoka is Dave's baby. There have been some accusations is the wrong word, but that Dave babies her a lot and kind of like makes her more important than she is, so to speak, whatever. But interesting enough, he has had Ahsoka basically lose to Balin both times now. But he definitely lost the first battle, and you could argue that she wasn't winning this one either when she eventually sends the explosion, or when she gets Young to fire down and cause the explosion, which is just enough for him to get away. She basically says, I don't need to fight you. I'm going to run away. I had to get through here. But yeah, so you can say that whatever you're saying, that means you're upvoting Balin Skull to a badass. And I don't know who actually could take Balin if Ahsoka couldn't.
It's the old adage of something that I've heard for years of a skilled, trained, bigger guy will always be a skill trained smaller guy. Ahsoka can have all the training she wants. She's still at a physical disadvantage to Balin, who is massive, and he's quick.
100%. So that's where we are with that. He does fight her. He gets to leave. We see Ezra and Sabine are now facing Shin, who is like she's kind of like you, with less sense of humor. I love when Shin slices at Ezra and gets a piece of his hair. He's like, "Woo, that was close."
He's just like close.
Yeah, I love that. I love that moment. Sequence goes down. Now, this is Taylor. Sorry, I almost said Taylor. Ezra does refuse the lightsaber, which some fans found frustrating, and I get that. I get why, because I'd love to see Ezra with his lightsaber in live action. That'd be kind of cool. But it's kind of like what they did with Luke in Last Jedi. It's the same kind of thing. You're not getting the Luke you thought you were getting. This is a more mature Luke, someone who's gone a different road than you maybe thought. And Ezra does the same thing.
Trying to erase the sequels.
Shut up. So it's an interesting way, but it makes sense because I don't get to see Sabine in all of her glory. And that's been also part of the jigs as well, is this whole series, while it's called Ahsoka, has really been Sabine's coming out party to a degree. Also, we're trying to see her really finally fully combining her Mandalorian skills with her latent Jedi skills, or her, very small amount of Jedi skills. So you get to see this whole fight where she actually takes on with Mandalorian stuff. She's doing fire burst, she's doing bombs, she's doing missiles, she's doing her blaster, she's doing her ropes. But then when she gets up close, she can still use the lightsaber, and she uses it well. So it's like this is her at what she can do best moment. We go back, we see Thrawn looking over the map, and even at one point goes, well, we're missing a mercenary. Where did Balin Skull go? So once again, I love the fact, because they're going to lose this battle, as we know. It's a little spoiler alert jumping ahead, but what they've always done best with Thrawn, what Filoni has always done best with Thrawn, is that Thrawn only loses battles. He's lost a lot of battles. You can say that he's lost a lot of battles in Rebels and now, but he only loses his battles when someone doesn't do what he told them to do. Like, he makes his perfect plans up, but when, for example, a Star Destroyer captain decides he's going to go off on his own, that's when he loses the battle. When he has planned everything around Balin Skull being there. When Balin Skull goes off and goes in his off direction, that changes everything from his plan. His plans are very precise. So what he loses, it's not necessarily his fault. He's still the brilliant strategizer. He just has to have people who just do what they told.
But even then, he takes what I would call necessary losses.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't waste resources. We saw with the fighters, and we saw that he only sent 2 squads of the night troopers out. Mm-hmm. He's like, look, I'll send out what I need, what I think I need. And he even says, Ahsoka Tano has lost the one thing she couldn't afford to lose, time, because he's got all the coffins or whatever the hell they are onto the ship, and they don't have the hyperspace to get back.
Right,
he does. So he's like, all right, you've lost this battle, but what have you won overall? I'm still gonna get the hell out of here.
Right. 100%. And then we got to see the return of Ahsoka. They get together. Ahsoka stands with Ezra and Sabine to face Shin. Ahsoka gives Shin the chance to surrender and to perhaps even offer his help. Shin looks for a second like she's almost considering it, maybe, or else she's considering still taking on 1-on-3. Maybe that's what she's considering. I don't know. But she does quickly back down and retreat for now, which I assume was going to happen.
Can I just quickly add? There was one effect that when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I'd never seen that before." It was when Shin swung the lightsaber at Ezra. He stopped it. I've never seen a lightsaber bend like that.
Right. It kind of like was pushed back, whatever. That was cool. That was very
It
cool.
was almost like he was like warping the blade. You know, like you see in like the old Chinese like kung fu movies where they have like the swords that kind of like
Bend a
way
little bit.
flat.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
kind of like old school
Back a
martial
little
art movie where like they bend and they
Yeah.
I was just like, holy, that's cool. And I also think it speaks to how like her kyber crystal is very like very fragile, very
Right.
like it could go either way at any point.
Right.
And it speaks to her personality because she's kind of like she's teetering at the edge. She doesn't want to go all one way. She doesn't want to go all the other way.
She's
But when
got
she
those crazy
does,
eyes, though. She's got those crazy eyes for sure.
she
Just
hasn't got the crazy
non-blinking.
eyes.
Never blinks, wide-eyed, crazy eyes. I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorites. She's so intriguing watching her. No, I did like that as well. That's cool. So, at the end, we get Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine having their little reunion, saying they're back together. Yang coming down. Everybody is back together. The crew is back. The band is back together, and that's where we set up to end. I did mention the line that Hu Yang says at the point. Oh, they're all back together again. I hope I survive to see this.
I mentioned this in the thing that make a Discord earlier. I was like, I can't believe he said that because Dave is gonna do that thing at some point where he makes us fall in love with a character solely to rip them away from us mercilessly.
Dave. All right, fine. All right, that is our little once a rebel, always a rebel. Let's move on to our rest of our segments. We can blow through those. Our next up, we have our Master of the Week.
As your master, it's my responsibility to prepare you.
This is where we talk about who is our favorite character of the week. Could be good guy, bad guy. It could be a droid. It could be anybody. It could be a little naughty, your favorite rapper. Who knows? But who was your favorite character of the week, man?
Mine was Ezra.
I think that the spot. I'm going to jump on board. You can say what you like about it. I'm so excited that mine was Ezra as well. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, I feel it's just like not just the performance of it. It's kind of like when a band has been gone for, let's say, 5 to 10 years, right?
Right.
You would love for them to come back. A lot of people would want them to come back and just play the hits, play and write new music to the style that we fell in love with at first, right? Mm-hmm. There's a band called Thrice who I absolutely love, who are like a band that I've said every album is 10. They've never ever missed. They went away for a few years. And they came back and they wrote a new album, which was completely different.
Okay.
And they said, why would we come back and write music we were writing 10 years ago when we could come back and write the music that we would want to write now?
Right.
And I feel like Ezra's kind of like that. It's like he's been gone for a while. And when he's back, we could have got young kid Ezra constantly joking around, getting himself into trouble.
Right.
But he's not that person.
Right.
Yeah, he's still got little bits of that in him.
Of course.
But that's not him anymore. And we're getting this more matured. Like, yeah, he's still silly, but we're getting the Ezra that we need right now.
Properly mood forward Ezra. I agree. He's a different Ezra. But he's still got that heart of Ezra. He's still the same character, just grown up a little bit. And that's okay. That's brilliant. You said everything I had to say. That's why we can jump forward. I will, since you said Ezra, I will just put a little shine to what would have been my backup. And my backup was actually going to be Mon Mothma. Again, I'm fascinated about what she's doing. I'm fascinated about where she's going. I don't necessarily like how she's handling things, but I'm intrigued, and it's cool to see her kind of trying to straddle that balance, trying to be the anti-Palpatine in a way, but still, she supports the crew. She still supports the rebellion, the rebels, and she supports doing the right thing. And I'm interested to see how that where that changes, or how that changes, because it's still kind of this cloud of mystery that no one really talks about. Like I said before, I've said this on the podcast before. There's like a very big cloud of mystery of where is Mon Mothma during all this period in a way. Like when we see the time Hosnian Prime happens, she is not Chancellor anymore. What happened along the way? She was barely in. I thought she would be in Bloodlines, that book about Leia, and she was not really in that. There's kind of like a hint that something was right. It almost felt like they are being obscure about her, obtuse about her, purposefully, like there was something to be said about what's going on. So I'm trying to figure out if that was meaningful or that's me reading into things, but I want to know. So there we go with that. All right, let's move on then to our next segment, which is
I am no Jedi.
favorite line of the week. Matty, favorite line of dialogue of this week. Which was your favorite line?
I think I'm gonna let you go first. I'm still kind of pondering on mine. I'm kind of like between two. I think. I think I've got one. It was Balin when he said, "Rushing to victory." It was something like rushing to victory is a sure way to ensure defeat.
Yeah, no, I know it was. Yeah, impatience. I think it was somehow impatient for victory. Impatience for victory.
Impatience for victory will ensure defeat.
Yes, one parting lesson, Shin. Here it is. Actually, I have it right here. It's got the background. Impatience for victory will guarantee defeat. That was the actual.
There you go. Impatience for victory will guarantee defeat. Because, and I'm going to come to this again later, Hera and the new Hera especially is very much like, we need to go stop Thrawn right now. Like, we need to go get him right now. She's very, and I was thinking about this literally like an hour before we started. I was just like, she's really impatient to go get him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just something about that quote from Balin that not only was it true for Shin at the time, you know, she rushed in, had all the night troopers behind her, and just she got beat because she rushed, because she was impatient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get to it a little bit later, but I feel like we're going to see that become a recurring theme.
That's interesting you say that, and I'm actually glad that you brought that line up, because I had two lines I was working with, and I was going to choose a different line, and I did. But I'm glad I got to talk. I got to talk about this one, because this is the other one I was going to choose. I love this line as well, and you're absolutely right. Because it's interesting to see that it's this. I can't say not the Sith, but the bad guy, the antagonist of our show, who's the one who's saying victory, because that's usually the other way around. Usually it's Sith or bad guys are usually more impulsive. They're more like passionate, aggressive, that kind of thing. He's not, and that's what makes him so intriguing. He's kind of like Thrawn to a degree. He's kind of like a Thrawn Jedi. He's like a planner. Obviously, he doesn't have the same strategic mind that Thrawn has. He has the Force instead. But he lays down that same kind of thing. And patience for victory will guarantee defeat. I'm not going to rush. I know what I'm doing. I know my worth. I know what I can do. I'm going to do things the way they need to be done. And if that's slow, then that's slow. And that's what we're going to do. So I love that one. That's great. Great line.
What's yours?
My favorite line of the week, I'm actually going to combine this category with the later comedy category. This is both my favorite line of the week and my comedic moment of the week. So I'll let you have your comedic moment later on by yourself. It is Hu Yang, and it's all on David Tennant's delivery. No, in fact, they're terrible, astronomically terrible. But Ahsoka says that like, I think the odds are great, and like it's just the way the droid just kind of reacts. He's like, "You fucking kidding me? Are you insane? No, they're terrible, astronomically terrible." And even continues. He's kind of like, because she jokes and she pushes his buttons. I wish you would have told me. I did, but you hear we get like grunt like that. It's so funny. And it's so great. That's why he makes us love. Dave makes us love that character. That's why I'm scared for him. But that line delivery, so good, so good.
The point as well that was really great, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, was the point where Ahsoka's about to jump off the ship, and he's still talking about Jedi protocol, and she's like, "And what happened last time?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got it wrong." And she goes, "Yeah." He's like, "But I felt bad about it." It's like, no, you didn't. You're a droid.
Oh God, it's so fun, so funny.
It's great.
So what a great moment. So, all right, that's my spoiler. I did give my comedic as well, so you'll only have that. But all right, next up for our segments, though, we have always a bit of legends.
There's always a bit of truth in legends.
A bit of truth in legends, I should say. This is our subcategory of explore more lore. Any kind of lore that's introduced in this episode that we want to see further developed, whether it be in a future episode, whether it be in a book or a comic or an animated series, or somewhere we want a little bit more about. I'm going to start, if you don't mind, on this one. Right. What I want to see, even though it's a little more on the nose than we usually get, I take a little piece of something, like a small piece that I like to go, let's go into that. This is a bit bigger than that, but I'm really fascinated and curious to see Balin and Shin's pass together. How that all went down. Where did Balin find her? like, because she's too young to have been a Jedi at that point, so she's obviously kind of a wildling sort of thing. Speak like a Balkan, as even though he says he's not a Balkan Jedi, Balkan out of the Order. He found her. Where did he find her? How was he looking for an apprentice? What's going on? Is like, does he know? Is she the daughter of somebody he knows? I don't know, but there's a lot of fascinating development, especially because he's kind of casting her off now. But he feels like it's like, I don't know. The relationship is so strange. She is so strange because she's so intense and so crazy-eyed compared to Balin. It almost feels like they should match together because he's so calm and patient and she's so not and impulsive and stuff, but she still like succumbs to him or submits to him. I want to find out more about that. That their relationship really fascinates me.
It's kind of like she's his attack dog.
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if, as we saw her riding off on the Howler at the end, I wouldn't be surprised if she's riding off to go find him. Because she's now like, well,
fuck this.
That fucked up. Like,
right.
What do I do?
Right.
Well, what am I? This clearly didn't work. What the hell else am I going to do?
Right. That's good. I would love to see a Tales of the Jedi. We had the Tales of the Jedi where we saw Dooku and Obi-Wan, or not Dooku, no, Dooku and Qui-Gon. Like we had Dooku one, like 3 parts of his career, really young with Qui-Gon with Mace, and then like right during episode 1. I'd love to see a 3-part Balin episode, a young Balin, maybe a Balin where he finds Shin, and then a young Balin and Shin like pre Ahsoka together kind of thing. That'd be a great 3-part arc. So Dave, get to it. I love it. So, how about you? What was your explore more lore?
I want to know how those. And this is probably just because I'm starting to get more and more into the costuming side of things. The night troopers, they're clearly not zombies.
Yeah, like, they're physical, that's for sure.
Yeah. What was the choice for the armor? Was it just like like we talked about last week with the samurai, how they used to like just bandage up their damaged armor because they didn't want to replace it? Were they just like, well, this is all we got to fix it. We just got to get some some sellotapes and Night Sister robe. Did they pull that robe out of the catacombs, the coffins? Did they like take those robes off of like dead Night Sisters?
Maybe. Or Night Brothers. Or even Night Brothers possibly. Don't hear about anything about Night Brothers. Were there any Night Brothers down there? Are the troopers part Night Brother? Do you really know? Do you really know? I don't know if we know. It seems like it's definitely a possibility. Absolutely.
That, or I'm curious about Enoch.
Me too. That's going to be an interesting thing with Enoch as far as that goes. I'm kind of curious if there's more to the story with Enoch. It might not be. It could be the case that Enoch's like next Merrick. Like people start getting to the point where like, oh, there's going to be back. No, there's no backstory. It's just Enoch being Enoch. But
I mean, Rook's dead, so yeah, we need someone to fill that role.
Absolutely. Interesting. All right, next up we got the category of seen a lot of action.
A lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
Favorite action moments of the episode. I'll take this one real quick because it's one we've already talked about, so I just want to briefly mention. My favorite action sequence moment was the combination of 2 things. Was when Shin sliced Ezra's hair, just because it was a great action beat of the slice. You see the singe and you see him going, whoa. And then also combine that with his pushing the blade a little bit, because I noticed that effect as well. Both of those are kind of like my combined. Ezra versus Shin was my favorite action moment of the week. How about yourself?
A lot of people are probably going to think, oh man, you're going to love all the martial artsy-ness of it. And I feel that was kind of like a prelude of what we're going to see in the Acolyte. They're using the Force more into the martial arts side of things, but it's not my comedic moment of the week, but it kind of blends the two, the action comedy. I love that anywhere we go in the galaxy or this new galaxy, a pan is a pan, just like you cook stuff on,
right?
Because there's a moment where a night trooper comes walking beside little Noddy's little pod, and he appears out the top, and he's just holding a pan, and he just throws it at the night trooper. He just hits the trooper in the head and knocks him out cold. And I was just like,
that's awesome.
I had to rewind it and pause it. I was like, is that pan. It's
And
literally just a black metal pan that he's
that's
just gone.
awesome.
Whoop.
That is awesome. It's funny, actually. I'm going to bring up this is another niche thing for me. I read the Dragonlance books as a kid. I still read them. I love them. The Dungeon Dragons offshoot. It's a Dungeon Dragons offshoot, basically. They were pretty popular back in the 80s and 90s. And one of the characters was a serving wench. That was her character at the beginning, but she became like a warrior on her own terms later on. But her best weapon at one point was exactly that. It was a pan. As she worked in the kitchen, she grabbed a great skillet and was like banging people with a skillet. And like she couldn't use other weapons as well as her pan at first. So basically she just used her pan for a while because that's what she knew how to use. It was a funny bit, but I saw that, and that's when I first thought, like, oh, it's Tika. It's Tika from Dragonlance, which is funny.
Oh, did you say her name's Tika?
Tika Whalen. So
Okay.
all right, let's move on then to our next bit. The
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Fuzzball. We already mentioned mine as the combination of my favorite line. How about yours? What was your favorite comedic moment of the week?
It's Chopper.
I knew it. Thank you. Okay.
It's Chopper. Chopper's just sitting there quiet, like minding his own business. He's, as I said, the last few episodes, Chopper's been kind of like on the back burner, probably because we've just had I Am Groot is coming out, so they're probably waiting for I Am Chopper to drop.
Absolutely,
that needs to happen. Like, I've never asked for anything. If I'm gonna ask for one thing, give me like a short thing, just Chopper on his own.
A Chopper miniseries of shorts. I love that idea. Absolutely, 100%. I'm glad you picked that. Because that was my other. I had the two in my head, and that was my alternate one. So I'm glad you picked that one as well.
It's just the fact that he just like springs up, and he's just like, "Wait, what? What the hell did you just say?
Hold me back." Garth is. Garth literally is holding him back. Even Threepio gets in the action. Mere droid, huh? Him and Chopper are gonna hang out at some point.
Chopper hates Threepio.
He definitely does. He definitely does. But Threepio kind of like, I think that him and R2 will get together, and there'll be something going on at some point, I'm sure.
I don't even know with those two, because the first time they met each other,
they'd get along eventually. I kind of feel like Chopper's like that with everybody. Come on, let's be honest. Chopper's like that with everybody. I think he'd eventually warm up to R2, because R2 does a lot of saving the day and kind of thing. I feel like they'd get along eventually. That's my. He
would bully B2 emo to death.
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. R2 could hang with Chopper. B2 could not hang with Chopper. Really,
I think Kev Smets. Shout out Kev Smets. He would love an interaction between Chopper and B2, because it would just be Chopper just mercilessly bullying him.
Is he like shuts out in tears? All right, second to last segment of our show tonight. It is the Parsec segment.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Less than 12 parsecs, that means 11. So on a scale of 1 to 11, because we always turn it up to 11 here on PLD Projects, what do you rank this episode?
I'm going to give this a 9, solely because it is a setup, and we had a lot of like, oh my God. It was, I will admit, it was kind of getting exhausting a little bit. Like emotionally, I was just like, oh God, it's like one thing after another.
Right.
And I felt like it's very easy to run out of things to surprise us with.
Right.
Until like Jackson starts showing up. And then because Jackson is canon, so it's possible it could happen where you get a live action Jackson. Action Jackson, boom. See what I did there?
I did. We already have Action Jackson. He's on he's with the Mandalore. There's a Mandalorian there.
But I was just kind of like, okay, like I love all these Easter eggs, I love all these big characters showing up and everything, but I'm like, okay, let's dial it back a little bit now. We've still got a lot of story left to tell. So I feel like this was still great, still on the right path, but just kind of like it didn't dip in quality, but just like because it's a 9, and I know Filoni's going to pull something out of his ass for the finale.
100%. Absolutely. And you know what? We could actually go on to that in just 1 second, because I'm going to say I also gave it a 9 for exactly the same reasons. I'm in exactly the same boat. I did enjoy it quite a bit. A little bit of a step down in terms of things, but it's hard to hit the same heartbeat notes every time. So I get that. But this was the perfect episode for where it was supposed to be. Perfectly placed for that setup role. And we had some great moments. We got to see the reunion of the gang. The gang's finally all here. We got to see some cool moments like the Threepio moment. We got to see Thrawn being Thrawn and being a badass. I love it. So yeah, it got dropped a little bit of everything we needed, and 9 out of 11 is a perfect setup. I'm expecting something big for the finale, and I can't wait for it. So speaking of the finale, our last segment of the day, as always, is...
I'm not here to discuss my past.
Not here to discuss our past. We're talking about our future. This is our Force Divisions. What is going to happen maybe next week or in the future in general? Could be the movie, could be 30 years from now. What's going to happen next? What are you foreseeing, Matty? What is the Holocron's telling you?
This was the thing that I was kind of alluding to earlier about Ezra.
Okay.
Ending on the line. I got a really good feeling. I can't wait to go home. I think Thrawn is going to go right for Lothal. I think that's going to be Thor's first stop when he gets back.
Home. Not saying just home, meaning home. I didn't even think about that.
Home. He's thinking of, I'm going back to Lothal, and I think that's going to be Thrawn's big statement of, I'm going to show up to the place where you thought you beat me.
Right.
That's the place that you're gonna go back to. Place that's gonna hurt you the most. Wow. I'm gonna go back there and I'm going to tear it the fuck down.
Damn. I did not even consider that. Now I am, and that's a fascinating thing to think about.
Because I was thinking, I was like, if he just appears in front of that Republic fleet in Cetos, that's not big enough for like someone the level of Thrawn for us to be like, holy shit, this is the new big bad. If he appears like, and he gets on the Eye of Sion, and the first thing he says is, set a course for the planet Lothal.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going to be like, oh my God.
Essentially. Yeah, that's very potential. Interesting, as Dave
Filoni
would say.
It just appears in the sky, and like we just see Ryder Azadi like looking out a window as just like fire rains down from the Eye of Sion.
Ooh, damn.
What image that would be.
That would be a phenomenal image. I like the way your mind's at. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but damn, that would be cool if it did. I like that idea, man.
Filoni's got to be saving something for this finale, and that's something as well that I think that would make the New Republic sit up and be like, oh shit.
Oh shit, they're right. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. For myself, it's just not a new thing, but I kind of feel like I just want to say it again. We're not all making it home. I've said that before. I don't think all the good guys are going to make it home. I'm not necessarily thinking they're going to die, though. I'm wondering now, especially with the Baylan situation, does Sabine get left behind? And then season 2, it's Sabine and Baylan's story, potentially. Where Sabine really has to be on her own to really like forge forward. Because I feel like Ahsoka could stay behind too. The idea could be at the end of the day, I think Thrawn definitively making back to the other galaxy. I think Ezra has to go home because otherwise that would be the MacGuffin. He's not dying definitively. He's got to make it there because otherwise you can't introduce him and then kill him off. It'd be stupid. I think Ezra in the other world makes sense. I think there has to be some kind of sacrifice, and I think Sabine stays behind. It'd be almost like a twist of the fate. You're swapping Ezra for Sabine. And then it leaves open a great potential storyline if Sabine is there while Baylan's there doing his thing. Whatever Baylan's doing, Sabine's going to have to be the one who is going to have to defeat a much stronger character, someone who Ahsoka couldn't beat. She's going to have to figure out a way to stop Baylan from doing whatever he's doing. Just a thought. I don't know. I kind of feel like Sabine's going to be left behind. That's my prediction.
I like it. Here's my, not counterpoint, but like my counter offer, if you will. I am the AMPTP in this.
We're haggling. Okay.
Example, but like I'm not a billionaire rich piece of shit like they are. I feel like Filoni's been setting this show up for the torch to be passed.
And
we also now know that this show takes place after the season 3 of The Mandalorian, because Carson ever mentions the attack on Mandalore. I feel if someone's going to stay behind, I think it's going to be Ahsoka, because she's going to want to confront Baylan. She's probably going to want to know what this big power is, because let's face it, if Sabine's there, she ain't got a hope. If it is Abeloth, Sabine ain't got a hope in hell's chance.
Right.
Yeah, I do like it because it does put her in that Shin kind of role with Baylan. It kind of gives him another apprentice to work off of, but it's someone who like he can also clash with.
Right.
I just feel like if someone's got to stay behind, I feel like it's going to be Ahsoka, and this might be the last we see of her for a long time, until the movie anyway. Because then it'd be like, where the hell were you when Thrawn was tearing apart the galaxy?
That'd be tough if we have a season 2 though. That's the thing. If
we're getting one.
I think they wrote it with having season 2 in mind. That's my thought. Unless this is all being led towards the Thrawn movie potentially. I don't know.
Think it is.
It could be. That's an interesting thought. Very interesting thought. It could be Ahsoka left behind. It could actually be Ahsoka. Could maybe Sabine and Ezra will get home, because obviously speaking, Ahsoka was never really truly. I mean, I hate saying this because it's like some people go, "Oh, yes, she was." She wasn't really a part of the rebel crew. I mean, she was like she was there and she helped the rebels and she had friends, but she wasn't part of that crew. So the idea of this like getting the rebels back together, maybe next season is all on Peridea, and it's all Ahsoka and Baylan. And then Thrawn is the big baddie in the next Mandalorian season or something like that kind of thing, leading into the thing. And then the Ahsoka movie or the big movie takes place. It's Ahsoka and Baylan making it back with Thrawn battling the Republic and the Mandalorian. All that kind of all comes together at that point. So potentially another way we can go. So I do like that thought process. I think that process as well. I think we both agree that Ezra's going back.
Ezra's definitely going back. And here's how I think they go back. I think they're going to race for the Eye of Sion. They're probably going to lose. I think Ezra's going to call back the Purrgil. The Purrgil are kind of going back. They're going to be like, "You guys done yet? Are we all good? Is it safe?" Because if you notice, when they went into hyperspace, they went straight forward. They went like straight.
Yep.
Kept going.
Yep.
So I wonder if he'd just be like, "Hey, come back in."
We know Ezra's a bit with animals. I do want to throw. I gotta throw another shout out. Meg's. Friend of the show, Megs, who watched our shows and comments a lot. She had a great comment on one of our previous episodes that I completely forgot about. We were talking about when Ahsoka got the Purrgil going, and we were like, oh, that's usually Ezra's bit, and now Ahsoka maybe with the. But that was actually there was a build up for that, because if you remember the very first Tales of the Jedi episode with Ahsoka, baby Ahsoka had her interactions with that like tiger like creature, and Ahsoka was there, so she does have that connection with animals. I hadn't shown her in a bit, but that kind of is a straight line combination. She's shown before that she has that connection with animals, the tiger. So her with the Purrgil makes a lot more absolute sense now after all that years. So because not that it needed to happen, not that it needs to have any background. We could still believe that she's doing it. It's like it was like a fault or anything on, but having that makes that even better in my eyes. So that makes sense. So. All right. So, any last statements about this week's show or anything else?
No, I'm just. I hope they do like another cinema type event for the finale. I think that would be pretty cool. Like watching it on a big screen. I think would be pretty cool.
That would be very cool indeed. I'm hoping it's a big finale. I'm hoping it's a good size finale. Who knows? It's not a 45-minute episode. It's not a 45-minute episode. But if you have like a 90-minute episode, a 2-hour one. Oh, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? That would be sweet. All right, where can the folks find you, my friend?
You guys can find me on all the socials at Matty Morner, or just go to mattygunner.com. I have a website now. I have a website now. It's got all my band stuff, all links to the band, links to the podcast, links to everything, merch, everything. And as we said at the top of the show, Ken Napsok, In My Day EP drops October 10th. I did parts. I can't take all the credit. My producer, songwriter, and collaborator Matt Hart also did quite a bit of it, but worked on the comedy album. It's awesome. KenNapsok.com, all distributors, iTunes, Spotify. If you can afford to drop a little bit more, go to the Bandcamp, get the special edition. Ken's got some cool content on there, and yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Excellent. Excellent indeed. All right. You can find me at Paul_Denuzio on the old Twitter. You can find me at PLD Projects on Threads and Paul Denuzio on Blue Sky, all that good stuff. You can find me on PLD Projects all over the place. Every week we do Holy Snokes. Absolutely. Every other week we do Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film, myself and PJ Campbell. Yesterday we dropped our episode on Friday the 13th, the final chapter. We're going through the Friday the 13th saga bit by bit because we love franchises, but we always have a soft spot for horror. So we're kind of mostly a horror podcast. We do branch out occasionally, but our hearts beat in horror, as it were. Every other week with Lego, I'm going through the V franchise. We're having a lot of fun there. We're in the
I did think of you guys actually when on the latest Other Center, they were talking about growing up in the 80s, and Joseph Scrimshaw, him and Ken were talking about, they mentioned V, and Joseph went, "Oh, V was awesome," and I was just like, Paul's gonna love to hear that.
I did love hearing that. That was wonderful to hear. Yeah, I loving having a great time there. It's a lot of fun. Lego's a great co-host there. And of course, every week I do my Queen podcast, Crown Jewel, who are going through every song in the Queen franchise. This week's episode is Drowse, the Roger Taylor song from A Day at the Races, and that's a good, fun one to discuss.
I remember that one.
It was not a single, wasn't very well known. There's not many versions to go through, but it's one that I used to skip back in the day when I was younger, but I really actually like it now. It's kind of really grown on me over the years. It's a very much more mature Roger Taylor sound. It's kind of a low-key classic, I think, now. I do enjoy it, so definitely take a look at that. I think that's it. The Patreon, if you want to support us, hit that like, hit that subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave reviews, leave comments, share us. If you want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/PLD projects, such stalwarts as Austin Goodell, Jeremiah Morris, Matthew Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman. Couldn't do it without you guys and the rest of my crew as well. I really love you guys. Help me keep the lights on. And you have some great benefits there. We have some hangouts we do some extra content. The Harristance is now on the Patreon now. I decided to take it off the main channel and move it onto the Patreon because, quite frankly, I'm not really a video editor. I tried it for an episode and just got really, I can do it, but took a lot of time up and more time up here, and it really got into my head. So I decided to pull it back, put it on the Patreon. I'm going to go through it in a much more relaxed fashion. Still the same fun, still the same content, just a little more laid back, and it's now on the Patreon as well. So that's another little bit for you guys there. And I think that's it. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be here. We'll be talking the Ahsoka finale. Hopefully, Hondo makes an appearance. I know it's not going to happen, but I'll cross my feet and we'll cross my fingers and toes anyway in hopes it happens. But until next time, I guess, as always,
may the Force be with you. Always.